have you ever stopped to think, maybe there's more than just one way to handle money? The path we're all sort of told to follow. Get educated, land a safe job, save up, retire. What if, just maybe, that advice, that conventional thinking is actually, well, holding you back? Okay, let's unpack this. Because today, we are diving deep into a book that really shook things up for millions. Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's pretty influential stuff.
Yeah, it really is. And what's so fascinating right from the start is how it throws down this challenge to, conventional wisdom. It does this by showing these two totally different ways of thinking about money, all through Kiyosaki's two dads. So you've got his poor dad, that's his actual father, highly educated, worked really hard, but financially kind of conservative and often struggled. And then there's the rich dad. Now, this was his friend's father. Not much formal schooling, but incredibly street smart about money, focused on assets, investing, building real wealth. It's just such a stark contrast. What's fascinating here is how it immediately challenges conventional wisdom.
Absolutely. So our mission today for you listening is to pull out the most important nuggets from this book. We want to get into its core message, which is really about financial education, maybe being, well, more vital than just traditional schooling. Learning how to make your money work for you instead of you just endlessly working for money. That's a big one. And that huge concept focusing on building assets, things that actually put money in your pocket rather than liabilities, the things taking money out. We'll definitely cover the book's push towards entrepreneurship, investing, financial literacy, seeing those as the real routes to getting wealthy. But we'll also look at, the good and the bad. Its strengths, like how easy it is to read, the storytelling, how it sparks new ideas, and really introduces that asset versus liability idea clearly. And also the criticisms, maybe it lacks detailed how-to steps or simplifies things a bit too much. We want to give you the full picture, leading to our overall take on it. So let's kick off with that basic idea, the huge difference between the rich dad and poor dad mindsets, especially around education and, well, security. Most of us heard it growing up, right? Go to school, get good grades, get a secure job. What does Kiyosaki actually say about that advice?
Well, Kiyosaki basically argues that his poor dad's advice, which is super common and sounds sensible, actually leads people into what he famously calls the rat race. Right? This path, it stresses security, stability, but maybe not actual wealth creation. Poor dad valued the steady paycheck, the benefits. He believed in that trade, your time for their money. Rich dad, though, he taught Kiyosaki something different. That financial education, really understanding how money works, how to invest smartly, how to build businesses, that's what's truly crucial. He felt traditional school prepares you for a job, yeah, but not necessarily for financial freedom. It's about shifting your mindset from employee to, say, owner or investor.
Just shifting mindset. And that flows right into probably the book's most talked about concept,
Mhm.
assets versus liabilities. This is where a lot of standard personal finance ideas really get turned upside down. Kiyosaki's definitions are quite specific here, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. This is, I think, where the book really clicks for a lot of people. It's very clear. Kiyosaki's Rich Dad keeps it super simple. An asset. Puts money into your pocket, period. A liability. Takes money out of your pocket. And this is critical because, like you said, it bumps up against common ideas. Like your own home. Many people think biggest asset, right? But Kiyosaki often puts it in the liability column.
Right. And that causes a lot of debate. I mean, your home, a liability, how does he
Yeah,
make that case?
Well, his argument is based purely on cash flow. If your house doesn't generate income for you, if it just means mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, upkeep going out every month, then it's taking money out of your pocket. So in that sense, functionally, it's a liability. He separates the potential resale value from the day-to-day cash flow reality. Rich Dad's focus is always, is money coming in because of this thing, or is it going out? So like a rental property bringing in rent each month, that fits his definition of an asset. It puts money in your pocket.
That distinction really forces a different perspective on your personal finances, doesn't it? On your whole balance sheet. And it ties into why he emphasizes entrepreneurship and investing so much, not just as like side options, but as fundamental paths. He's not just talking about, putting a bit aside in your retirement account each month.
No, not at all. It's way more active than that. Kiyosaki really pushes people to become active investors, people who understand markets, who can find opportunities, or to become entrepreneurs, to build businesses, create systems that generate income themselves. It's about owning the system, you could say, not just being a cog in someone else's machine. And his idea of financial literacy isn't just budgeting, it's deeper. It's understanding things like tax laws, corporate structures, market trends, and using that knowledge to build wealth. It involves taking calculated risks, and having the guts to maybe do things differently.
Okay, so those are the big ideas. Let's shift to why this book struck such a chord. What are its main strengths? Why did it become such a bestseller?
I think its biggest strength, really, is how it takes these sometimes complicated financial ideas and just boils them down
Yeah.
into a story. That narrative approach makes it super accessible. Even if you know nothing about finance, you can pick it up and get it. And it's definitely a mindset shifter. It genuinely motivates people, makes them question those old assumptions about jobs and money. Plus, as we've been saying, that asset versus liability distinction, it's just so clear and memorable. It gives people a basic but powerful framework to start with.
Makes sense. But like any book that challenges the status quo, especially about money, it's got its critics. What kind of pushback does Rich Dad Poor Dad usually get?
Yeah, there are definitely common criticisms. One of the biggest is that while it's great for getting you pumped up and thinking differently, it's maybe thin on the how. Like, it tells you what to aim for, build assets, get financially literate, but doesn't always give you concrete step-by-step instructions on how to do that with specific investments or business strategies. Some people also feel the advice can be a bit too simple, glossing over the real complexities and risks of investing or starting a business. And because it relies heavily on anecdotes, sometimes the advice can feel like broad statements, not necessarily hard and fast rules that work for everyone. It's definitely not a detailed financial plan.
Right, more inspiration than instruction manual, perhaps. So that brings us to the wrap up, the overall verdict. If someone's thinking about reading this, what should they expect? And how do we rate it overall?
I'd say it's a fantastic place to start if you're feeling kind of stuck in that traditional work, save, retire rut. Or even if you just want a fresh perspective on money. It's especially good, I think, for beginners who need that initial spark, that conceptual shift.
Agreed. You know, for its sheer power to inspire and fundamentally change how you look at things, we're giving Rich Dad Poor Dad a solid 4 out of 5 stars. It's a great catalyst for shifting your financial mindset. But yeah, you'll probably want to follow it up with some more practical, hands-on guides once that new perspective clicks in. So let's recap. What does this all mean for you? We've really spent time digging into Rich Dad Poor Dad, getting to the heart of its message about fundamentally changing your whole mindset around money and wealth. We saw how Kiyosaki uses those two father figures, the rich dad and the poor dad, to really question the conventional financial path.
Yeah, and connecting that to the bigger picture, the takeaway really is about grasping that difference between just working for money versus making your money work for you. And so crucially, realizing that true wealth tends to come from actively building assets, those things, remember, that put money in your pocket rather than just piling up liabilities. It definitely makes you question how you personally view financial literacy, maybe even dipping your toes into entrepreneurship or investing.
Exactly. We talked about why it's so popular, easy to read, really motivational, and it introduces that absolutely game-changing asset versus liability idea, including that controversial take on your own home. But we also touched on the criticisms that it's maybe more about the why than the detailed how, and perhaps simplify some complex financial realities, and our verdict reflects that. A strong 4 out of 5 stars. It's a powerful book, especially for beginners wanting that mindset shift, but best paired with more practical resources for the next steps.
Maybe the real deep dive isn't just reading this book. Maybe it's about taking that mindset shift it offers and figuring out how to apply it directly to your own situation. And then, the crucial part, actively going out and finding those detailed practical strategies you need to actually turn that new way of thinking into real financial progress.
Yeah.
That's the challenge, isn't it?